We call the meeting to order, the Board of Selectmen, the 6th of November, 2023 at 5:30. The first item on the agenda is to bid farewell to some distinguished people, right? So I would like to just make a couple of words about Judy. When you think that she came as an elected person following Edith Roberts as registrar, and in January of '81, because Edith resigned in December of '80, you took over her spot and served as a registrar for 12 years. And then I guess the pay was better in the tax office. So in November of '93, you were elected to be our tax collector, and for 30 years, probably older than most of your children, you served in that position, and we come to the present. And, we're blessed to have Howard and Chris and Peggy and Denise here, and I'm not sure I know you, but it's really a distinguished record, and I think B. McLean served, 51 years as the town treasurer in the past, so there are some very long-winded people, but I would say that we owe you a big debt of gratitude for serving all those years and doing so much, and the Halloween party is at your house, and everybody's cooking up there. It's just wonderful, and the family is just terrific to back you. So we want to thank you, and we have a bouquet for you. It's almost bigger than you, but nevertheless. Judy.
So I just want to say in advance, I gave Judy an extra 2 years as Republican registrar, so we'll get into it. But I've known Judy since 2014 when I decided to run for office, and she's been an amazing friend, an amazing mentor to me. We've knocked on doors together. She's always been a friendly face when I've come to town hall, and we've gotten to catch up. But I do have an official citation from the state of Connecticut to thank Judy for her years of service, really years of service to the town. The town has benefited because of Judy and her family, and we're going to miss a lot in town hall. And it's been introduced by myself and State Senator Marks, and it says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly offers its sincerest congratulations to Judith A. Tooker in recognition of your retirement and years of service to the town of Old Lyme. Your 30 years as tax collector and 14, we'll change it to 12, years prior as Republican Registrar of Voters are emblematic of your dedication to our community. You are an Old Lyme icon, and we wish you all the best in your much-deserved retirement." The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses hope for continued success. And it was given to the state capitol, the Senate President, Speaker of the House, and our Secretary of State. So congratulations.
Did you want to picture of you? Can you guys get
all right, let's get it on. Very good.
Congratulations.
I think we have one more person to bid farewell to, so why don't you come back up? Yes, we're going to call Devin. The town hall staff has a little special party coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Is it okay if I stay a couple minutes before you? Sorry.
Yes.
So, he's old enough to be my dad, or my grandfather. His years of service have been probably more than how old I am, so we're very excited for him. I want to personally thank him for his years of service with the town. 18 years on Board of Finance in various capacities, 18 years as first selectman. Never mind your countless hours volunteering with the VFW, Lions Club, and any other organization from the town that asks for your help. You've been a permanent fixture in this town hall with Judy as well for a long time, and will definitely be missed around the town hall. This is bittersweet for you, but I am sure Kate and your family will enjoy spending more time with you, and if I know you, you'll find plenty of things to do. So you've been a leader, a mentor, and a friend to countless members of this community, and we greatly appreciate that and all that you've done for us.
Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate the way you've mentored us for the last 2 years, and we just recently found out he calls us the kids. But I am not young enough to be your daughter, so we're good on that.
Yeah.
So, but we will miss you.
Good. Well, I must say it's public service. I did put this in the newsletter that all on the events that. You know, people say, why the hell would you want to be first selectman? All the calls and the aggravation and so forth. But, okay, there's some of that, agreedly. But I think working with everyone, working with a whole breadth of all the things that we come into contact with, the Board of Finance was a great training ground for it. You see, everybody comes in and says, can I have some money? Have some money? And then you get a good feel there, and then when you first selectman, it's an open door policy, so my emails suffer as a result. If anybody doesn't get a call back, it's because all the people come in the door, and I've got to talk to them first. So, but it's been wonderful, and I will miss a lot of it, miss a lot of the people day to day, but I won't be that far away.
Well, you're always welcome here.
My pleasure to have been part of this and carry on, and I'm sure it'll be great. It's a wonderful town. I think, you know, when you think of the plan of development, it says keep the rural character of our town the way it is. The state is working against that, unfortunately, but I think we're going to be determined to keep Old Lyme like Old Lyme and not like Old Saybrook. And I mean, Saybrook's nice, but it's nice to shop there. And he's fine. So I think we're blessed to have the natural beauty and the things that we have in town. And I know everyone will carry on very nicely. So thank you.
I don't know, after he bashed my hometown, I don't know if I'll bring this back. So, Tim, congratulations. I mean, tomorrow I think is going to be one of the first elections in a while where there's not going to be Judy or Tim on the ballot, and it shows that really how long and how much they've given this town. Tim, you've done a great job as first selectman. You got us through COVID. I'm sure you weren't expecting that in your second go-around, but we got through it, and you're going to be missed around Town Hall, but I'm sure your family and Kate are going to be happy to have you home more often, and you'll get some much-deserved vacation time. So again, I do have an official citation introduced by myself and State Senator Marks, and it says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Timothy C. Griswold in recognition of your 18 years as Old Lyme's first selectman. Your decades of leadership and dedication to the town of Old Lyme and its residents have made our community a better place to live and raise a family. You have provided selfless service to the town, and we thank you for your hard work and love for Old Lyme. We wish you all the best in your much-deserved retirement." The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. And again, that was given today at the state capitol, signed by our Senate President, Speaker of the House, and Secretary of State. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So for anyone who doesn't want to stay for the Board of Selectmen meeting, we can take a quick break so that people can exit and go have a great dinner somewhere.
A little bit. Devin's going to be there most of the day. Okay. Back and forth.
Hey, Mark, your thing is
All right, well, we'll continue with our agenda now. Hey, that might...
Here's the boss.
I tried to copy all that stuff you told me. All right, so proceeding to number 2, approval of minutes. We have the regular minutes of October the 2nd. May we have a motion to consider them, please?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the minutes of the regular Board of Selectmen meeting on October 2nd, 2023.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion or comments on the minutes?
There are a couple of corrections.
Okay.
Under public comment, Carolyn Miranda's name is spelled wrong. It's just one N in Carolyn, not two.
Oh.
And further down under public comment, it's not Kathy Tracy, it's Kathleen with a K. And it's Tracy without an E. It's Tracy. I also believe on page 2, Tim the Swan Brook Outlet, the company is called Monster Vac, not Giant Vac.
Yeah, right. Monster Vac.
And under top of page 3, underneath the Conservation Commission, I did say to Gary Gregory that there was a possibility of not free brochure printing, but reduced fee to municipalities. Those are the only corrections I have.
All right. Anything else? If not, we can amend the motion to have it as modified.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very well. Then the second item is the special meeting on the 10th of October.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting October 10th, 2023.
I'll second.
All right. Discussion, comments, etc.
None.
Hearing none, we will vote. All in favor of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. All right. Next, we will take up public comment. So, are there any in the audience who would like to make public comment? Lovely. Anyone on the phone? I wonder if this thing is...
It said we were the only ones on.
Yeah, I know. The green lights are on. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. We'll move on to communications, which I have none. The fourth item is appointments. The Lyme Senior Center Board of Directors. There are actually 3 vacancies, but we have 2 positions to fill. We have, as recommended by the chairman, Mr. Lucchese, that Carolyn Ross would be appointed to fill a 3-year term ending the 30th of June 2026, and Fred Barillo to fill a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2024.
I want to make a motion to appoint Carolyn Ross to a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026, and Fred Barillo to a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2024 to Lyme Senior Center Board of Directors.
I will second.
All right. Is any comment on those appointments before we vote? If not, all in favor of those appointments, please. Say yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Turning to the old business, Halls Road improvement. Let's see. I don't see. Oh, there. Yes, very good. I'll try to put into articulate here what we need. As you know, we have $5,000 that was allocated for the soils work, and I guess during that process, the soil scientist from CLA Engineering noticed that there was some naturally occurring soils that are favorable for development, but then there was another area that I think it was, maybe you could comment specifically where they are. I think it would be at the end of Halls Road, and which is considered impaired. So there would be some extra work to be done there, and it's an amount estimated around $500 to $800 to do that extra work. So do you want to amplify a little bit more about?
I can explain a little more. This is just about the water question at the western end of Halls Road. There's a marker on the maps that say there's a GA, which is ground aquifer impaired area. And that could mean many different things. Before we just leave the review at that, Attorney Sweeney said we really need to know what that impairment is. So, you see a lot of this down in the Soundview area, but it's questionable what that means for Halls Road. So in order to do that, they have to go to Hartford and go talk to the right people and find out what that actually means. So
now, can you more pinpoint where this may be? Is it within the Halls Road corridor?
It's in the district. It's closest to the 156 end of Halls Road. Kind of overlaps where Long River Local and Essex Savings Bank and a little further down towards Treasures, that end of it. So we need to know what that is.
And these were marked on some kind of a chart that they...
Yes, he had a preliminary drawing where it was, there's all sorts of different areas that mean different things based on soil types. And I guess in the Halls Road area, there's two different types of water that you can go to. You can go to a deep well, or you can go to a shallower well, which the shallower wells produce way more water than the deeper wells. So for a commercial area, it's better to use the shallower wells. And that's the ground aquifer is what that means. So
Okay.
that's where they're going.
All right.
Edie, did this come up on a drawing from the past, or is this something new from when the soil
So
was done?
when they did the soil review, they looked at all the different conditions all through the district, not just one area. But they were based on things that have been built and the types of septic systems they have, the types of wells they have. And in this one area, it came up as a question. So rather than leave it an unanswered question, it was better to get an answer.
Okay. So
It's all based on history.
Okay.
So, Ledge Light, all the correct people that they needed to go to learn more about it were consulted. So.
Okay.
So previously, the 5,000 was approved to come out of the money that is available apart from the Bow Bridge project. There was some 19,500 that, because of the Connecticut Trails grant, that's 28.5, I think it is. So that the 19.5, which had been the town share of the Bow Bridge engineering, was basically not needed for that particular part of it. And so Board of Finance indicated that if we approved as the Board of Selectmen something like this, that I don't believe it would need to go back to the Board of Finance. They just said, you guys use your judgment on smaller things that come along.
Yeah.
So I think it would be, if we would support something not to exceed $800, I guess would be the way it would be worded, that could get that analysis performed.
Correct.
Money already approved, just reallocating it to a different purpose. Is that safe?
Yes. Yes. Not to mention, while we're having it done, if there's a problem, we should know about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, is there anything else on the horizon?
That's all I know so far.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I guess it would be appropriate that if the board would like to approve this not to exceed $800 for this ground aquifer impairment analysis, we could make a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve an amount not to exceed $800 to expand the soil study to investigate the impaired area in the Halls Road improvement area.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next item is the Soundview sewers. We were requested by bond counsel to execute some documents, which has been done. And I was talking with Rich about what's going on here. And Rich, I think maybe you'd be the best to explain it, because I have numbers, but I think it'd be best coming from your mouth as to what this is all about.
Okay. First, thank you for your public service, Tim. I'm going to miss you. You taught me a lot, how to not lose my cool and listen to everyone's opinion. Still learning.
Yeah.
So what Tim was referring to is a Clean Water Fund application. We've submitted this a number of times, and it goes through different stages. So nothing is different or new. It's just that we submitted the 60%, which we've been talking about for quite a while. And this puts part of a planning part of the grant, which we get reimbursement of 55%, which is what we did for the evaluation study years ago, and to try to get any available grant money left from that. But the main part of this is the 60% design part, and that was $615,200. And we submitted that application, and that puts an earmark for that amount of money. That gets us the 25% grant for that amount of money for applicable design stuff. Our design engineers have expenses, and they're waiting for this to get approved to submit invoices to us. It looks like the timing of this, according to the state, is they're reviewing our application. They're going through their signatures on their side. I don't know all the people that have to sign it. One is the Treasury Department, and then they will let us know, and then we'll be able to submit invoices probably in the neighborhood around January. That's what the estimate they gave us. We'll then probably have to go and resubmit the same application with the same, well, one different signature. The first selectman will be different. And we'll have to do what's called an interim funding agreement, which is essentially taking out a loan for the amount of money we're given for the engineering services minus the grants. That's what's left over. That goes into a short-term loan that we use to do the design. That loan will get rolled over into a construction loan. This gives us the 2% financing over 20 years. And then the whole project's completed, we'll have that financed through the Clean Water Fund program and then reimbursed by the users to pay off that loan.
Would that second stage, the construction loan, interim financing agreement and funding agreement, would that be the 75% of the cost of the 615 or not necessarily?
So it'll be 25% grant, and then the balance would be a loan. And what gets complicated here is the construction will have 25% grant as well, but we got additional funding, and today we got an email from the state saying that our unaffordable application was accepted, which means they promised to give us $15 million in additional funds in the form of a forgivable loan. We have not seen the contract yet, so it's very hopeful. We have official letterhead that says they're going to do it. But as you all know, until you see the contract, you can't really say, everything's great. But what that is an additional up to 50% clean water funds, essentially, for the project. The purpose of that is to overcome the supply disruptions and the very expensive project that makes it unaffordable for residents of Old Lyme. And that is not just for Soundview town property. That is for all the projects. Soundview, Old Lyme, Old Lyme Shores, Old Colony, and Miami.
But sewer only.
Sewer only, yeah.
Little
there's
paving.
Stormwater, there's additional different funding sources, so they don't mix that. The only other thing is it allows for repaving or repatching the part of the road that you dig up to put in sewer lines.
Mm-hmm. But of the 615, 25% could be covered by the grant in January. Would
Yes.
the remainder be taken care of with the interim funding agreement, do you believe?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
There's no out-of-pocket expenses for the town of Old Lyme in the short term.
Okay. And then you mentioned the planning portion. That was done previous to the design stage, right?
Yes, and we're trying to capture grant money. I don't know why we have to apply for it again, but we've had to apply these documents repeatedly, and at the advice of bond counsel, at the advice of the state of Connecticut, we're doing it. So,
but those dollars the town spent and has not been reimbursed.
Correct.
And what percentage do you figure we could be reimbursed on the planning money?
I think the number is somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 that we'll get in reimbursement. That goes back to the town general fund.
Mm.
But it depends on the application, and then they review and they say, here's what's applicable, here's what's not. But the planning part is pretty straightforward. as far as, you hire an engineering firm that's qualified, you go through and get approved for them, they do a study, they submit the study, they've already done that. And the state of Connecticut is involved in this every step of the way. So I don't see how it could be, it could be not applicable.
And that's not clean water money per se?
That is clean water money
Oh.
that they use. So they give a different grant amount because the evaluation study is motivated to do this study, and the study is very comprehensive versus, let's do a less expensive study that's not comprehensive. So they fund more, as I understand it, to make sure it's comprehensive.
That 70 or 75,000 would go against our total 50%, let's say, between the forgivable loan and the clean water stuff. I mean,
I believe that is completely separate.
Separate.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely separate. It's part of the study, it's part of the planning.
Different pot.
Yeah, it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So we also had the $9.5 million bond, and we did paperwork with that. Does that bond money become involved in this process as well? It looks like, these bills haven't been paid, so if we get the grant and the interim funding money, we don't need to use any bond money.
I believe it does.
Temporarily.
I believe it does. So that authorizing referendum, town referendum, was to do the project, and the money that is not given by grant or forgivable loan, what's left over that the state loans us, that is the bond money. So we're not actually going out to a bond, but the way you write the referendum is that you authorize to do it. And the idea is that the Clean Water Fund funds everything. However, there are times when a town says, I want to do something different beyond what the mandate is, in which case they go out and get bond money for something else. I don't have an example of what that would be, but that's what the bond council, when they wrote that, recommended that we do.
Non-eligible items too.
Yeah, so like if we're having some consultant look at something that is giving us steering guidance, that would be considered non-applicable. If we're building infrastructure, building a road, building a pipe, that kind of thing, that's applicable. There is legal allowed to do like buy land, that you have to buy land and you have to process, the paperwork for that. But strategy and that kind of thing is one example. They told me it's not applicable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then with the confirmation that the forgivable loan is a reality, we'd feel good about putting it out to bid again.
Yes, we're planning on putting it out to bid for the town's part, for one reason, to complete our whole design phase. When you complete it, you can then update it.
The Sound View part.
The Sound View part. The private beach associations are also committed to going out to bid as well, to prove that you can do it, or that if the costs are extremely high, that you can't do it and maybe approach the state for more money. We think, and the state thinks, that we go out to bid, it'll be the same or lower cost than it was in the past. But the bids we had have expired.
Mm-hmm. But would we be best to put all four entities together for bidding purposes, or if we're going out individually, four different bids?
Well, we're doing one combined bid for the shared part.
Okay.
And the beach associations are handling that.
And then each does
And then they're
its own.
doing their each individual ones, and they're planning on doing those all together. If we are ready for the Sound View part, we will go out to bid as well. Remember, we're using a different engineering firm.
Yeah.
So while the bid goes out to the general public for, it'll be through a different engineering firm prepares the bids. But I think it's generally known our project and their projects are connected. So you're probably sending the bid to the same commercial contractors. I don't see a difference between why they would, I think maybe a couple of them will bid for different, areas, because they might have different expertise. There's normally a pretty light sandy, and then there's some part of the neighborhood that has some rocky part in it, so it's a different type of skill.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody, you guys have questions for the...
So I have a question. When you visited with us just last month,
Good to be have it.
we're seeing you a lot. You told us we learned of the $15 million forgivable loan. Tonight you said use the word additional when you described that. So is that an additional 15 million to 30 or?
No, it's 15 million total. So I was referring to the 25% grant that we were promised at the beginning.
Clean water.
And then this extra 24.9% of, which is 15 million. And we just got an email today affirming that our analysis is correct. We got an official letter by email. Before we just got an email saying, yeah, it looks good. Now we got an official state of Connecticut letter.
And do we have to accept that at the Board of Selectmen level?
I don't think so, but I mean, I just got it today, so you'll get it. It's just an acknowledgement. We still need the terms and conditions of this forgivable loan.
And then my next question was, you mentioned that you did the paperwork for the $9.5 million bond. What does that mean?
So back in 2019, we had bond council and we did a referendum in the town and passed like 800 and something voters to 600 and something voters. That's what I was referring to. Our bond council prepared that referendum, and that was the key to say, should we go forward as a town or not? In that referendum, it authorized the selectmen to, in effect, implement, sign documents, whatever, to further the project with a limit of $9.5 million.
Okay.
The Clean Water Fund application paper that Tim started out with, that's an application. I kind of think it's more like to earmark the amount of money that we're requesting at this part, and we have to approve it repeatedly if something changes, or I don't know. We've submitted it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now.
Okay.
So they just keep asking for it, and ultimately we get to the point where we get to submit some invoices from an engineering firm for the work they've done so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, further down the agenda, we have a resolution. Let's see, where is that one? No, excuse me, that's the wrong thing there. That's a senior center thing. Okay, so, yeah, those papers were sent up to bond council, so we're just moving along this track. And then I think you mentioned also there's a 90% benchmark after the 60% complete for the engineering, and that we could perhaps request additional funds at that time.
Yeah, each time you do this, you can amend your application. You have to give a reason. You know, you can't just say, you know, we want more or whatever. And it's got to be a justifiable reason. But from here we go to 90%, and then there's 100%. And 100% is what you said, okay, it's signed off, you're ready to go to bid. And that's what we're striving to do, is to get to 100% and go to bid. Anyways.
But that, here it is 2 months to the end of the year, basically. You think we can go from 60 to 100, okay, in a couple of months?
No. No, we can. The state can't. Right. Because each time they look at this, it seems to take 60 days just to look at it.
But to go out to bid, where do we have to be with the design percentage?
We have to be 100% out to go out to bid.
So January might be a little ambitious?
Well, January get us to 60%. Then we turn around and we submit some invoices, do interim funding, so maybe that's January, February, March. We're now putting in 90%. And the private beach associations are planning, I think, around March to try to go out to bid. Okay. So it's unlikely that we're going to catch up. But if you look at it, they were way ahead of us, and we're slowly catching up to them. So we can... And it doesn't affect us right now. They understand this. They've gone through it. they've been very helpful in telling us some things to watch out for. And we will eventually catch up to them, and they're planning on building the shared part that includes our needs. And they're including us in those conversations.
Mm-hmm. And then the other element is the intermunicipal agreements with the Waterford and New London and East Lyme, Waterford, and then New London, and those are going on a separate track.
Yeah, so there's East Lyme and Waterford is already taken care of, and it's fine.
Is there a cost associated with that one?
Yes. So as we start shipping effluent, then it starts kicking in, and there's a couple of variables. There's a buy-in cost, there's a processing fee, what goes through, and then there's a long-term maintenance equipment type thing. These were approved and agreed to a while ago. We did New London, same kind of thing. New London's agreement expired, and we're in the process of renegotiating. We thought we had it done, the negotiations. We had it in purpose or in agreement. Then we saw their lawyer submit the actual agreement, and I would say that they changed one or two terms. They had some typos. They had some things in there that annoyed us, but doesn't really change the fact, and we're in the process of trying to negotiate with them. And it's who knows what will happen after election. Maybe it'll be a different story, or maybe it'll be the same story. So we have the previous agreement that has a clause in there that says that New London will renegotiate with us. So we're confident that this will happen, because if it's one thing that's holding this whole thing up, I'm sure there'll be some way of striking an agreement.
So the changes that you saw in the agreement that came through basically benefited New London?
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's very complex.
And Rich, can I just ask you, how are you keeping the residents of Soundview apprised of all this? I mean, you've given us a lot of information, and I know that many of them listen or read the minutes of your meetings and things, but do you think there's a way that you could summarize in like 3 or 4 paragraphs what's happening in language without, so that people are aware?
I could. So I have in the meetings and minutes, and we have a presentation that's still applicable, but as far as the most recent developments, I kind of thought it wasn't the wise idea until we finalized these developments. But like the 60%, I could probably, some of the things that are finalized, I could probably put out some kind of information. And there is the annual newsletter that I could put some words in that.
Yeah, I just think it would be a good idea to have some transparency for them, because they don't like to be surprised by hearing things on the streets.
Well, I'm constantly battling misinformation, so I mean, I totally support transparency. I have a policy of answering every question, even if it's asked repeatedly, because sometimes people didn't get the answer the first time. One of the things I learned from Tim. So yeah, I could do that. I could put out some kind of summary of where we are.
I think it would be great.
Sure. Give me a couple days.
Oh, okay.
In your spare time.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's you've been with us for a long, long time, and I know it's a thankless job, but you've worked very, very hard at it, and a lot of moving parts. So I personally thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. So.
Okay, anybody have any more before we move on to the next?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Senior Center. The Newfield Construction, which is our construction manager. That contract is being put together. We've been spending a lot of time on various insurance aspects, and there have been legal and conference calls. We have a number of people working on it, which tends to make it more complicated. But luckily, B.J. Birnbaum is helping us, and he's a contract lawyer by profession, so he's on the Board of Finance, and he's helping us out with some of these things. So the Newfield wants to go out to the trades to bid various packages for the senior center work, and so I think that is very, very shortly going to happen. And I haven't heard revised dates. There's a meeting Wednesday with the building committee, but ideally, we were saying the construction should start in December. So hopefully that is still feasible. So maybe we can get the contract done and get these bids. I don't know how many different trades will be solicited, but I'm sure there'll be quite a number of them. So they would be working that whole process. And there is in the lower section under new business, we'll have something for the Department of Economic and Community Development. It's basically for the STEEP grant, some additional resolutions.
Tim, when do you think the contract will be done? You'll finish it?
I think it should be this week.
Okay.
The way, because you have Michael Carey is looking at it, and then the committee members, and then Newfield Construction itself.
Okay.
The Swan Brook, I think it's this.
Ferry Road.
Ferry Road. Yeah, Ferry Road. We have the actual easement to go around a tree on Ferry Road at number 7 Ferry Road. That's been executed. So also the vinyl fence, which was at 11 Ferry Road, I confirmed that has been moved back to the property. So those two details are taken care of. So the engineer was going to get the package, including the easement, up to the DOT for sign-off, and then once that is done, then we'd be able to technically go out to bid. I think they would like to have the bid at this point come out either late December, I don't know the timing that he'll suggest, but to get on somebody's work schedule early, the first thing that happens, so that maybe we'd get a more favorable price if we have a turnkey project. It won't be that big a project for a lot of these people, so if we could have somebody come in similar to the one in Soundview, we were lucky with that one. They came in very aggressively, so maybe we'll have a good result there. So then it could be perhaps a first quarter start of work. I think we're leaning to removing the 3 trees that are of consequence before the project begins, and then the contractor would be responsible to get rid of the stumps. There are 2 small trees which wouldn't take very much to remove.
So you haven't planned to have the trees removed yet?
We don't have a contractor ready to go, but in as much as I think cosmetically we want to do it somewhat close to the project starting. But if this all can happen before Memorial Day will be done, then that solves a lot of problems, because we don't want to have things a mess as it gets into the warm weather and some of the activity picks up on Lime Street.
We also should get the trees down before the growing season starts again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that would definitely be so. Swan Brook, the I think at this point, we are convinced that there's nothing further obstructing the pipes. And so we have an arrangement where if the sand gets to the point of covering both pipes, we have the Garvin family, they're close by, they can come over and do a little digging and free up. The east pipe is the one that seems to run the best, and in larger rain events, why both run. But there's not enough flow to really keep both going all the time. So we've talked about trying to maybe have some sort of a plate that could go over the front of the pipe on the west pipe. But we don't have a consensus on that. But so we have some eyes and ears, people in the area who are keeping a good look at the condition, and so we don't want to just run down there anytime it looks like the sand is getting high. You know, if there's even sometimes when the sand covers both, it manages to start flowing. So I guess we'll just have to feel our way and make sure it doesn't become, causing water to back up in Miami Beach area, but we don't want to have the sand come up and then we dig out and it's like a weekly thing. So I don't think we've done digging recently for quite some while. So we have some people watching it, and I think they'll be giving the first selectman's office a call when the consensus is that it really looks to be a problem and needs to be dug out.
They called today.
Mm-hmm.
They called today.
I didn't get a call.
It's on your email. There's pictures.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it looks it's about 3/4 of the way, but I've seen it that way before, and then the next week or so it flushes out again.
Well, that's the thing. We're supposed to get rain tonight, so we can maybe look tomorrow and just see if...
So are we still contributing the flooding on Cross Lane to that, backing up?
That's unrelated.
Like,
see, the water, as I understand it, the water from...
I've got cones in my driveways, people stop turning around.
I think the water coming down with the brook goes not under the railroad trestle, it goes to the east of the railroad, down near Teddy's property line with Nickerson, perhaps, something like that. And then it runs under the street and joins the brook across 156. The catch basin has a separate pipe that goes there, so it's a little complicated.
I did speak to somebody in Point of Woods today that mentioned that they've had similar problems with their train trestle bridge, and they ended up putting a very high-powered pump in, and they haven't had one issue since. Works great.
Would that be for the catch basin or the brook?
My understanding it's in the catch basin, but it pushes the water through faster, and so it goes on when water gets to a certain level. So it may be something to look into, because this is the 9th flooding that we've had at Cross Lane, and without rain, or is number 5. This one without rain.
Yeah, that's eating some cars in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Chattamahaig says no report, but there is a report. This morning, Public Works and I went up there, and there had been some plantings that had been replanted. So we went to the landing, and we took out 3 plants. The owner, Carla DeRista, came out and was not happy with our activity, and she was maintaining that they own the property. We're not talking about who owns the property. We say it's our road. And she says, no, that's wrong. And I said, well, we respectfully disagree. And so we weren't getting anywhere with our conversation. So the truck was loaded and starting to prepare to leave, and she removed one of the plants that was small enough to remove from the back of the truck. So I think we will have to monitor this situation because obviously we want to take the plants away so they wouldn't show up again. We had originally, before they moved in, there was a plan to have a couple of parking spots down there. We tried to negotiate with them, but they wouldn't entertain anything. They wanted no vehicles of any sort. So I'm hoping that the town will maintain the position that Taname Landing is ours, the road, and we will maintain it. Perhaps toward the spring there could be a couple of spots with some markings as to where one parks, and if anything crops up in the landing, it should be removed. I think when they did some improvements, the Mirstone, which is on their side, or the house side, was covered, I think, by the wall. Mm-hmm. And their response is that the survey we have is a fraud, and therefore it means nothing. And the road was abandoned in the 1700s, and so, we're just at very polar ends of the spectrum. And I think we stick to our guns, and it's a town landing, and we will continue to maintain that until something happens.
So the plantings that you removed, are they at Public Works, or did they?
I think that hopefully they've been chipped.
Okay.
But the one did get a reprieve.
Yes.
He took it out.
You're told.
There were two other bushes that looked pretty bad because the replanting didn't do them any good.
Okay. But you didn't take those two?
Those went away.
Those went away today. Okay.
And we do have the sign that was, I guess, planted, removed. I think Ed still has that, so we figured out what to do with that.
And there's still the sign in your office, too. You have another sign in your office?
Two.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, we figured we'll figure that out. Button ball, I don't have anything specific. I believe the open space folks are working on a split rail fence which would go along the marsh, and when it intersects the Blair property, the fence would go along that property to the road. And I believe the harbor management should be working on the application for a dock permit. I haven't heard the status of that. I would hope that the harbor management will use the likes of Keith Nielsen with DOCO for the dock permit. I think you do need a good engineer for that purpose. I don't know what the requirements are. Really. Our
battery packs were not plugged in overnight, so they're on short supply.
So I don't have an update on that unless anyone else does. And then Shoreline Gateway, I put no report unless you all have something. Okay?
No, we're good. Meeting coming up.
Okay. Very well. So we'll go to new business. The first item is the holiday schedule, which has been distributed, I think. And then we can sign that. It's the typical holiday schedule. I guess we could review that and make a motion to approve the 2024 holiday schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 holiday schedule for Town of Oakland.
Mr. Ward, motions.
I will second.
Shoemaker. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Okay.
Which one do you want us to sign?
We checked these, right? We did check these dates?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
One of them looks a little off from the school calendar, but that's okay. Well, we can, if there's a mistake, we can adjust it.
Yeah.
You want me to sign mine? Matt, I'll sign mine, and then
Sure,
pass
we'll
it
flip them
down.
around. All right, next is the affordable housing request. I put here the McCulloch subdivision work. As we will learn from Michael Fogliano, there are a couple of additional things that might come during the fiscal year here. So I will turn it over to you, Mike, to go through. The selectmen have been given a memorandum which covers the McCulloch property to get those two lots going, and then I think we previously talked about two potentials behind the Mountain Road Firehouse properties on Kimmick and Hillcrest, Grandview, that might create two additional lots, a single-family home.
So when we talked about this last month, I came to you to bring that opportunity for the vacant town-owned properties on Kimmick and Hillcrest and Grandview, and to request the funds to do soil and water testing on those properties to confirm that they are suitable for residential use. And thanks to your guidance, you recommended that we put a bigger picture together of what the budget requirements would be for all of the irons that we have in the fire before we go to the Board of Finance to request any additional budget. And so we've undertaken to do that. So what you have is an estimate of the funds necessary to advance two projects. The first being the McCulloch project that has two building envelopes associated with it, and the second project being the vacant town-owned properties that have an additional two. The second of which is currently in the form of 5 very small lots that would likely want to be merged. We'll talk about that more. The way that sorts out is into 3 tiers of priority. So the first is to bring the McCulloch project, which is already in motion. The partner has been identified, Habitat for Humanity. Town Council has reviewed all the documents associated with the original acquisition. And the 2 building envelopes that we've been talking about all this time exist as being delineated on the conservation restriction that covers the entire open space. So they've been defined as a subset, those 2 3-acre parcels. And on those 2 3-acre parcels, the conservation restriction allows the use for a single-family home on each of those envelopes. So it's been delineated, and it's been set aside in the conservation restriction, but it has not been divided from the open space. So those two building envelopes are currently just part of the open space and don't exist in a form that can be transferred to any other party.
Right.
So to get to that point, we're going to need to go through a subdivision application with planning and zoning. And we've estimated the technical and the legal resources that are going to be required for that, and it came up to approximately. These are rough estimates. They haven't gone out to bid. These are rough estimates based on common practice and consultation with some practitioners in these areas. So that would be the first priority, and be the $12,000 to bring the McCulloch project through the subdivision application and put the town in a position to transfer those 2 envelopes to Habitat for Humanity, who would then pick it up and do the housing development on it. And I have that identified as the top priority for multiple reasons. One, it's an in-process project. The partner's been identified. We also have 2 clocks ticking on that project. The first is the expiration of the option to utilize those 2 envelopes for affordable housing, which expires in September of 2024. And the second is the ARPA grant that we've been awarded to support it, that expires, or that it closes in December of 2026. So we have to keep moving on this. The grant is a use it or lose it.
Can I ask that question? On the September 2024, if we subdivide the lots and we get that approval, and then how quickly can we turn it? And so once it's turned over to Habitat, we've completed that on
Yes.
that particular contract?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep. And in consultation with town council, just looking at the process, looking at the planning agenda, we aspire to have that ready for the April town meeting,
Okay.
if everything goes according to plan.
To do the sale approval.
Yeah. So that's the first item of funding. The second is what I originally came to you last month to talk about, which is the Kimmick Hillcrest Grandview is more of an exploratory project. It has been approved as a project. It did a review of the vacant town-owned land, and these two popped up in the review. It looks promising. The Kimmick parcel had a residence on it once. There's actually a decommissioned well and septic on it, so we think that improves the possibilities for that. Before we get too far out over our skis, though, we thought it would be advisable on the advice of the land use department to do the soil and water testing to make sure that they're buildable before we spend more money and more time and effort on proposing the project. So that's the second priority because it would precede any further expenditures or advancement of a proposal to move that project forward. And then the third item is, again, for those two properties behind the Boughton Road Fire Station, and that would be the legal and technical services required to do a lot line map modification that would merge the 5 tiny lots on the southern parcel into one. It's conceivable that if we had a partner, we could transfer all 5 of them to them, but if we did that, it would mean doing 5 surveys, and it would drive the costs up. If we do a lot line modification, we just have to do 1 survey of the perimeter of the 5, and it would contain some costs. So we haven't really sharpened up the pencil and seen what the difference is, but for the purposes of this request.
Yeah, then the buyer would have to do transactional costs to do that, you know.
Yeah, it would make it less attractive, I think. But it seems like at this point, again, to go a lot farther without knowing that it's even feasible to put a residence on there, we're reluctant to advance it much farther. But the current thinking is that it would be most efficient to merge them into a single through a lot line modification, which would take some work, but possibly less overall. So the bottom line came out to $20,000 on this, and I assure you that we didn't start with 20 and work backwards to these numbers. It came up pretty close. We collected up the.
Okay, at least get you to the end of the fiscal year, right? And it's a new fiscal year, cash flow.
Right. Yeah, and that's the feeling. And you know, if we did take your advice and try to look at this through the lens of not necessarily needing to go to an additional town meeting, but if something unexpected happens and we have to, so be it. But this looks like a reasonable estimate of what will get us to the next phases of each of these projects.
Michael, I've spent some time on Kimmick in the last few months, so I'm just asking, it does not appear to be an improved road. Unimproved?
It is not paved.
It is not paved, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I was up there today, actually.
So I just am thinking along the lines of trucks for building and things like that. I mean, is it going to be feasible?
It should be, and I actually did some queries on this.
Okay.
So, yeah, and there are residences up there now.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, well, the Kimmick one is pretty close. It's at the bottom. There's quite a grade here.
Yeah, there's some terrain in there, definitely.
Oh, I've been on it. It's a field trip.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you may recall a gentleman that just before the Gardner property bought a small parcel from us.
Yes.
So and then the Robert Day put in a couple of houses. I think he had 3 altogether he was going to do. So access, they are getting around. I don't know. whether we'd get required to improve the road per se.
I mean, I think it could use some grading. I mean, it's a town road? It's a town?
No, I don't think it's a town road, is it?
I don't know.
I think it's a town improved road.
I will find out.
Because they were all this little tiny lots in the beginning. I don't know whether they were tent sites or what.
5, yeah. There's 5 on that cluster. I don't know what the origin of them was.
Yeah.
The records these are tobacco ways.
We certainly would not want to get the town pushed into a position to make the road a town road or anything like that.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's what I'm referring to this as an exploratory project. So we need to do some feasibility on this.
But check on that.
Yep, got it. And the other is we have a new member of the commission who is actually a developer, and we're going to walk it this week, and he's going to look at it through the eye of a developer to see what kind of cost. There is some terms in there. We want to have a look at it to see that if just from a technical feasibility of putting homes in there. You look at the topo maps and it looks okay, but
No, I appreciate the fact you're doing your homework.
I have it looked at before we get too far out over our skis, as I said. But on the other hand, it's we want to get some at least provisional funding for if those initial feasibility studies are come up positive, we can keep moving.
Okay.
So I guess if number 2 comes out good, and that's it.
We're done. And I noted on the third item that the use of the funds on this would be contingent on everything.
Would the chronology likely be all 3 of these? If things were positive, it could all happen before July?
You mean start building?
No, to get number 3 underway. I'm just wondering whether number 2, with respect to these lots, might take a bunch of time. We still have almost 8 months to go, so.
Yeah, I would hope so, but from my perspective, I would put the McCulloch as a top priority. Everything else is distant second, because that has a known clock ticking, and it's a work in progress.
And we own them.
Yep.
So.
All of these, actually.
Particularly.
But you asked him, I think we asked him last month to come back with the total for all 3.
Right, yeah, well, that's right.
So,
I just wanted to confirm chronologically that the third one would likely still be within the fiscal year. So
It would be great if it was, but we don't know what we're going to find. It's exploratory, so
you guys would have to say, let's stop the music at number 2 if in fact there were enough red flags.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
So the third item is contingent on
the 2. On number 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's on the.
I wonder if this were to be approved, whether the commission would come back to the selectmen before committing to draw down the 5,000 for the third phase, just to get a blessing, so to speak?
Absolutely. So at the very last line on this is that the 5,000 is third priority, use of funds contingent on successful soil and water testing and approval of the project by the Board of Selectmen. That's it.
Because that lends another layer of control on it. And as we know, 20,000 is a dollar too much to not go to a town meeting, right, Anita? So, when we've had things in this neighborhood, we've used like 19.5 or something to keep it. Not that we wouldn't think the town meeting would approve it, but you have to schedule one, and it's a lot of detail and advertising costs and so forth.
So you'd like him to decrease this a bit?
Somewhere. And
No.
the Board of Finance will be meeting later this month, so they would look for our thoughts on the matter. of the, where would you think there might be some economy in these three, that something might be reduced?
Could we just take $250 off $5,000 one? And
Yes.
make it...
Yeah, these are rounded up ballpark estimates. So yeah, I would be least comfortable trimming sales on the McCulloch project.
Right. So
Because that has the most consequences if that's a bad judgment. The soil and water testing is well enough known. The number 2 is well enough known and small enough, so there's less room there. So I agree, Martha. I think if there was a place to cut, it would be the item that's furthest out and least well understood.
So what if we did that, Tim, and then we could bring it to 19,750?
Okay, so we're going to move the second item to be slightly less, or
No,
the third?
Third.
4,500, 5,000 to 4,750.
Because it may not be used anyways, depending on
Yeah.
what other happens.
So do we make a motion, or we make a recommendation to the Board of Finance?
I think we would make a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance.
All right, so I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance for the Affordable Housing Commission, $12,000 for the McCullough Family Affordable Homes Project, $3,000 for town-owned properties on Kimmick and Hillcrest, Grandview, for exploratory project of water and soil testing, and $4,750 for the same properties if the water and oil testing tests prove they're buildable.
And approval from you guys.
And approval from us. And approval from Board of Selectmen.
Do you want to add that total in?
For a total of $19,750.
Okay. I'll second that.
All right, any discussion before we vote on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Thanks, Michael, for all your work.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. If I can take a second to all of you. 2 years ago, the commission was newborn.
Yeah.
You've been up here a lot. It's great.
Now we are toddlers.
Yeah, I think we got to...
And we have some irons in the fire.
Yeah.
And Tim, you won't have to deal with this when we're unruly teenagers.
want to make sure it's a good endeavor for sure.
But thank you all for the support and the guidance you've given us as we've gotten to this point. Appreciate it.
Terrific.
So,
Thank you.
make a note of the Board of Selectmen. It might be helpful to be present for that.
Board of Finance.
Finance.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely. And I'll put a packet together for them.
even that sheet, or whatever. Yeah.
With some background on the projects too, I think would be
Okay.
useful for them.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Next is the Senior Center expansion. The Department of Economic and Community Development is, I believe, overseeing funding for this steep grant that we have. So each town needs to complete paperwork. There's a resolution here. It's pretty pro forma. We have to do it, and this would be a document that would be certified by the town clerk after, if and when we vote accordingly. So it says, whereas pursuant to, I'm not sure what the specific statutory reference is, I'll have to get that. The Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development is authorized to extend financial assistance for the economic development project, and whereas it is desirable in the public interest that the town of Old-Lyme makes an application to the state for $500,000 in order to undertake the expansion and renovation of the Lyme Senior Center and to execute an assistance agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Old-Lyme Board of Selectmen that, number one, that the cognizance of the conditions and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed by this reference again, that the filing of an application for the state financial assistance by the town of Old-Lyme in an amount not to exceed $500,000 is hereby approved, and that it is directed to execute and file such application with the CDEC to provide such additional information to execute such other documents as may be required to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for the state financial assistance, if such agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Old Lyme. And that would be Timothy Wisel for Selectmen.
So
Good.
Okay, I'll second. And then I have a question. Matt,
Yep.
you have your town email address.
Yep.
Jerry Baker sent us something yesterday or today, something about this, that she had a concern with, something for Board of Finance. And I just wondered if you could pull that question up. I can pull it up on my computer if you don't find it, but
Having to do with this DECD thing?
yeah, it was one of them. She said that she just was worried about one of the wordings. I think it was on this one.
it didn't say what it was, but it just said, forward this for FYI. Now they have received the award. The conditions will begin. The money will be released as conditions are met. I spoke to Tim yesterday to see who wants to proceed. Budget she attached his lines, and I assume Tim will receive the one for Old Lyme.
Okay. I thought there was another one, but I can.
Yeah, it's something else, I think. No, there's that.
I thought there was one more question that she had.
Not
She
too
didn't
many,
know how the.
not too many blanks in here that are, like this
It
reference.
was something else to do with a steep thing, and she sent it to me.
Unrelated to this authorization?
I don't remember. She sent me so many things. It's like sometimes it's.
The SHPO form was a new one on me. Lots of evidence to submit. The construction manual has some spaces to complete where it is to share with Newfield.
I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting something that she just sent me. She may have only sent me. Maybe she only sent it to me. By mistake. But I'm just gonna check quick.
Yeah, it just says, would you please add the required new proclamation to November 6th Board of Selectmen agenda? I will review the other documents and try to start with needed evidence, but this is time sensitive and needs to be done soon.
Right.
She says. There's a couple other things she says, but.
Wait a minute. Here it is. She sent this Sunday.
Yes.
Matt, after looking at the form you received from the State Department of Economic and Community Development, the governing body for the STEEP grant, I'm concerned about the section where it says sources of funds and how Old Lyme will define that section. Since this is time sensitive and will determine if and when STEEP funds will be released, should there be a more robust discussion about the funding sources for Old Lyme? You want to read it? She sees you on it on Sunday. She may have talked to you about it today, today. I don't know if she was in.
Well, that's a different document, the sources of funds.
I don't know if it was a section on that.
Because they sent down 3 or 4 different forms.
Okay.
This is the authorization thing.
Fine.
And then,
Okay.
That's fine.
That's the budget request allocation.
So we just have to check that when it's done.
yeah.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something.
Okay, so I'll get that reference number, and if you all approve, well...
Yep. No more discussion, we're good?
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
No. The motion.
Was to approve what he read. I said I so moved.
Matt and
Yeah.
Martha. He came right out of the chute.
Yeah, I got a hard stop here. I got another meeting.
Okay, are we ready to vote? All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you. Next, Tom Meyer was looking at the capital worksheet about painting the town hall. And there's been a program to paint one of the sides each year. And this year, because COVID's kind of messed things up for a while, COVID is, we missed a couple of things that didn't get painted. So the company is willing to come to bat, but when we looked at the actual capital sheet, it has numbers from 21, 22, 23, and on out to 27, but 2024 has no figure in it. And during the budget process, this wasn't highlighted, and therefore there's no funds there. So the side that should be painted, it would be the south side here, and the big side there. Tom, in conversation with Martinez Painting, who has done the painting in the past, he asked me, and I said, well, there is a building improvement fund, which could serve as the source of this money as opposed to an appropriation. There is, I believe, $106,000 in there, and Tom's recommending that this not exceed $15,000 for the painting. So I think if we made a motion to the Board of Finance to say that we recommend that the painting happens before the end of the year, which I think will be good enough weather to do that. If we get that done between now and when the Board of Finance might approve it, we'd be okay and back on track. And then next year, probably these numbers are a little low, $12,000. So it could be adjusted in the budget process. So if we want to continue our painting schedule, it might.
They're paid for now, they're paid for it later, right? So it's
pretty much
short, a year off. Right.
Yeah, and they can get one side done, and there's been a hiatus due to this. So it might be that if we make a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance that $15,000 be removed from the building improvement fund for the purpose of painting Town Hall south side.
So moved.
Second. Tim, you don't think there's any surprises? They won't find it. Have they looked at it to make sure there's rotted wood or anything that they're going to have to? I know you usually like a contingency, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, well, Tom recommended 15. In the budget, it has been, it's going back 11.5, 9.5, 11.0, 12. So seems like 15.
Okay.
Might provide a little.
Depends on the cost of paint.
Yeah.
All right. So you would like
A motion.
a motion?
So moved, they seconded it, no discussion.
Mr. Ward?
Yep.
Madam Shoemaker? Any other discussion on it before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay, thank you. During October 14th, we had a transportation accident scenario.
No, you missed E. You're on E.
Emergency, that's this, I think.
That was the one that we did on a Saturday.
This is the governor's emergency planning preparedness. It was the Saturday one?
Yes.
On the 14th?
Yep.
And it involved each town and city had to come up with its own emergency, and Roberge decided to have a truck that came off the highway pretty close to the entrance to the Hangry Goose restaurant that had some sort of toxic chemical tanker truck type thing. And so we had, certainly the emergency management director, EOC staff, police, fire, ambulance, select, and social services, and on and on and on. There were a room full of people with little signs, even economic development to get people back on track and so forth. So there was there's probably 25 people participating. It was not evaluated by any outside party, but that I know of. I don't think it was evaluated, just our own drill. And I'm sure there was a write-up going up. So I don't know whether this is done on a regular frequency, but it's Emergency Planning and Preparedness Initiative. So we performed it, and I guess we did great.
It was very educational.
There was a second one, which was the Connecticut DOT After Action Review, AAR. And we had Rob Derry, who was a state trooper here, who has since moved to be, I think he may be a part-time person doing this.
Consultant trainer for them, DOT, yeah.
Yeah. So he led a group of people for another incident type thing. And it was the accident that occurred on 95 where the dump truck rolled over and there was a fatality, unfortunately. And it was a chronological, minute-by-minute thing of what happened and who did what. And it also, I think one of the things we were very interested in was the local road. How do we protect ourselves against, when the interstate southbound is closed at 4 Mile River Road and there's just a sign saying go right and nothing else. So we tried to talk more about that, but most of the thing was how well DOT and all the Valley Shore, 911 and so forth handled things. And I think they felt that part of it was done pretty well, but as we know, it's chaos and as to how we might improve the outcomes for something like that. And to compound things, there was another accident on the Baldwin Bridge northbound, which shut things down, and there were 6-hour delays, kind of backups, because of each way with these things, back to probably toward New London. So I guess it was a 7-hour delay in southbound and 2 hours and 40 minutes northbound. So it was very interesting to see the interplay of the different agencies, and once you have a fatality, that really makes it more complicated. And so I think it sensitized the groups that were here about what might be done. But I think if you were to have signs that either could flip up and down to, say, detour, people, unless...
Unfortunately, you can't have someone at every corner telling, you have signs, and even the signs some people don't even pay attention to. That's the problem. You had tractor trailers on Mile Creek, it was a mess.
Yeah, once you start seeing...
I came down, I picked my daughter up at Westford High School. She followed me. I was out, and she followed me home, and I went all back roads through Line to Bill Hill to Town Woods, and then I was able to take a left on Route 1, and then we went up and through that neighborhood there to the right there. I just can't remember the name, but yeah.
So
and it was the homecoming dance. And
yes.
People were late for that. Yeah. And it was not.
Do you think that signage would deter the adventurous ones from saying, I see there's a...
More like just like the tractor trailer stuff. Mile Creek and... have people going down my road, like they just don't know where they're going. They think it's okay. But I would think the GPS should tell you where you're headed, but I guess it doesn't.
Yeah, we might certainly improve signage on different roads, saying there's a low bridge,
Yeah.
11 feet, 6 inches, and
Right.
have that posted at the beginning of Mile Creek or...
Well, there is a sign like that at the corner of Whippoorwill and Mile Creek where they intersect, but however, the sign is facing it if you're coming down Mile Creek. So if you come up Whippoorwill, the sign is to your passenger side of your truck. So if you're not looking at it, you can't see it,
Yeah.
and you turn right, and the next thing you know, you're at Mile Creek Bridge, and it's not very...
Right.
And there were 3 trucks there, and they were trying to back up, and one had gone sideways, and I had a citizen call me and ask me what to do, and I said, it was pouring rain. I said, do you want me to come down and try to direct traffic? It was dark, it was 9:30, and she goes, no, I don't think they were going to help, but she said, they're really stuck down there, and I said, well, go back it up. But
You might say, wouldn't it be smart to have a sign like that where Route 1 and Whippoorwill join?
I think it might be nice if, independent people can put things on Waze, and it might behoove us to somehow put that there's low bridges in certain areas so that it comes back up.
It didn't sound like they're going to have great success with those Waze and Google and so forth to make them stop telling people to go these strange little ways. Anyway, it was pretty fascinating seeing how all the parts fit together, but I don't think it solved our problem per se. It gave us some good ideas.
So I would just like to point out that the Board of Selectmen are the traffic authorities for the town of Old Lyme. And this event, we were not even invited to this event. And instead, this was generated with the help of a private citizen who's running for office. And I do not believe that this is an ethical move on the part, and that it was promoted during a campaign trial. And that should not have happened, because if you're doing something for the good of the town, not that you're promoting it for your own campaign. And I think that was very unethical.
All right.
Well, I think that, for the record, did John recommend to you, Tim, to contact these people, and you contacted these people directly?
Yeah, I know he suggested that this resource exists, and so
And
next then Rob Deary was in the act, and things were underway. So I think his knowledge of it was
that is fine, but it should not be used for campaign purposes.
That's right. All right, the last item is the facilities position. We interviewed a couple of candidates, and both were very, qualified people, and so there was a decision to hire a local person to be our new facilities person as a part-time position at the moment, and Eric Olson was contacted, and he has agreed to come in. He's going to come in tomorrow and do some paperwork and so forth. Eric is a home builder in town, and he's been doing that for over 20 years, so he's pretty familiar with many of the things that we need. So he has a couple of projects that he's wrapping up, so we would hope to have him, I would hope, around the 1st of December to be starting out on a part-time basis, and then he'll be taking over that portion of what Tom Meyer has been doing, which, in addition to information technology, is way too much for one person, particularly at 25 hours. So we're looking forward to having that spot filled. When we had an independent facilities person that he was on 10 hours a week. So there's just a lot of things that go on, and some of them aren't great big things, but and that's where perhaps Eric's local knowledge of the trade and knowing pretty much about windows and doors and all the things that go wrong, it seems. So we're looking forward to having him join our town staff. So we'll introduce him around when the time is proper, and
then
Tom
everybody
will
will
be-
tell him what they want him to do.
Tom will be very happy. So, other business.
I just have, and Matt, I missed you mentioned that you might have some resources for this, but the other day I walked into town hall and there was a gentleman that followed me, and he was almost hit by a car at the barber shop, and he was very upset. And he said, these cars are speeding. He said, they almost took my door off, and he said, it's not safe. And I'd had 2 other phone calls about Lime Street, continuous ones about 156, and Mile Creek Road now has also become the next superhighway. So what can we do, Matt, from a policing or DOT, what options are out there to curtail speeding? We have to do something.
Well, I mean, on town roads, DOT's not going to do it.
No, I know.
But we have those speed signs which can collect data. I'm pretty sure if the ones I think they are, you can collect data of when the highest speed is 75th percentile, 85th percentile, and then times a day, which is the best to gear your enforcement around. And then you just do, and the rest of it's education.
And
Out
ticketing,
there,
probably,
oh yeah,
the long
first
run.
round's warning, second round's tickets, third round, here you go. But I mean, we had the same problem in Kinley Woods for years. That's what we did. We had a traffic study committee, and we came up with ideas, and we had got grants, we bought equipment and signs, and so there was definitely, it's like a 3-pronged process, really. It's getting out there, getting the data. It's just accurate. Someone says, oh, they're going 80 down my road. Well, the highest speed we got was 50. Everyone perceives things differently.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And then coming up with a game plan and just getting out there and hammering them. And, not always going to get tickets. People can be educated with warnings, and then we had one some of these roads that we had before was first time was a warning, second time,
Does the system keep track of the warning, so if a second incident
we have
happens?
it in the system. Yeah, whenever you have a traffic stop, you can put it in the computer and how you what this position is and how many warnings, verbal,
And if a
written.
citizen sees a car really acting aggressively, can they call the police? And
Yeah, any citizen can make a formal motor vehicle complaint. The only problem with that is the officer that gets notified didn't see the complaint. So the only way we can give someone a ticket for a formal motor vehicle complaint is the person has to give a signed written statement. And some people don't want to do that. So I've done that before. I've given people, and I have to inform them, hey, I'm giving a statement here. There's a chance if this person fights this ticket, you might have to go to court. Because I didn't witness it, unless they have, obviously it's on camera or something, but then, they're using their phone while they're driving too. It gets, some people have those dash cams, so people can get involved by calling in, or just an anonymous complaint, like, hey, erratic operation on this road, we get those all the time whenever we're desk, people keep calling and you follow where they're going, and, that's the problem. Some people just don't want to get involved, but then they do, and then they realize the steps, and they do.
So nowadays,
So let me ask you, so our resident state trooper, is he supposed to be made aware of these issues from our chief of police and then do something about it, or does he do these routinely on his own?
I think any of us, like if he's getting phone calls at the office or emails too, saying, hey, it's speeding, it's on him to bring it to our attention and then try to come up with a game plan to address it. I mean,
yeah, well, I've got complaints
I don't
about
know if
Ferry
you're familiar
Road.
with killing work, but we had like Green Hill Road, 148 and 81, all those roads,
Yeah.
constant. I mean, you can't be everywhere, but you can try and be
There's
visible.
not that many.
Yeah.
Or
No,
there.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a process, and it's definitely something you can
I just think,
work together with,
Tim, I would hate to see someone taken out, especially once we start to get into weather. So maybe you could have a discussion with Matt Weber, but I told him I'd call him back. I have his name and number.
Well,
if you want to call him.
I've gotten calls on Ferry Road South or West, because people complain. You wouldn't think they'd go that fast. It's kind of a Humpty Dumpty road and all, but now there was also at the cost meeting, there was a part of the DOT. There were a couple of gals there, and they had these electronic signs. So they were out of them, but they were offering them for free, not bundles of them, but So I know there was one on McCurdy Road down near the Duck River.
I don't know the brand that is, but I know we have some in Deep River, and they collect data if you have the right setup.
There's one on Halls Road near the post office. Is that operative?
Is that ours or is that DOT's?
I don't know. It's dark.
Okay. Yeah, the battery probably needs to be changed. Because the batteries are running so long, especially if it's a busy road. It's probably
I wonder, like that stretch, when you go past the cemetery and so forth, you go around a corner, it's 25 all through there. And that seems a bit slow, given the nature of the road. And, there are some roads that might be awfully slow, and then people say, 30's fine, 35 maybe. But I
would assume that would be part of a traffic study too. What's the safest?
Yeah.
Town roads, you can set the speed limit. I don't think you can set anything below 25 or 20, or there's some regulations with that. And you can't use certain signs for certain deterrents.
Well, we could maybe see if we could get, particularly, I could maybe dig up that agency and see if they have more of these things.
That's what we got. It was grants out there, and then we had a speed enforcement grant, but the problem with that is you need to prove like there's a lot of accidents or you have data to show, hey, people are speeding on this road.
Okay.
There's definitely things out there. Yes.
Okay.
So I just also like to say I've had a great run with both of you for 2 years, and it's been a lot of fun, and Matt and I know how to pinch hit as an executive admin assistant for 4 months.
All right. I agree. It's been a long 2 years, but not in a bad way. We've learned a lot, and a lot's happened, and hopefully we can feel we left it better than when we got it, but it's, for other people to decide, not us.
Yeah. It's easy. When the police come, we say, let Matt take care of it.
It's been good. I appreciate it.
So thank you.
Thank you.
For all of it.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure working with you, and see what happens.
See what the next chapter brings.
Yep.
Good.
Motion. Would you like a motion to adjourn?
Well.
A second.
7.
You didn't get it?
Huh?
You didn't get to make the emotion?
No, it's all right.
All right.
Wait.
Martha.
I'll amend my motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
7:18.